Quantum. When you woke up this morning, did you purposely say, I'm going to confine myself to a box? Or do you just avoid putting any conscious thought into today? When you're busy going at it, literally or figuratively, do you ever find yourself pausing for a moment to realize what's going on? Or are you just reacting? When you hear the saying, may I have your attention please, do you continue as you were, or do you consider the information you're about to receive might actually be valuable? When I was growing up, my mother used to ask me to do things, and sometimes her reasoning was, because I said so. Looking back, I wish perhaps I took the time to pause, think, and consider the ramifications of my choices. Good Wednesday to you. Today is Wednesday, September 14th, 2016. This is episode number 3 of Pause, Think, Consider, and I am your host, Jesse Liebman. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to us today. There's a multitude of different ways that you can stay in touch with us to know the latest and greatest in terms of when we're releasing new episodes and what they're on. One of the best ways, however, is to go on and visit us on Facebook. You can go on to facebook.com/pause, think, consider. And after every post is released, you'll be able to find it on Facebook. Comment, like, share, what have you. But please visit us on facebook.com/pause, think, consider. Today's topic that we'll be talking today is the art of listening. For all information on this specific topic, you can go to pausethinkconsider.com/all one word, art of listening. Listening has been a personal passion and saga or journey, if you will, over the past couple of years. Listening is an interesting topic. And doing a little bit of research for the show today, I found that there's a number of books and seminars and workshops and techniques and articles, and quite literally, you can make a living at teaching people how to listen, which seems crazy. There are a couple of the different articles that I found when searching on LinkedIn was the 7 Steps to Prove That You Are Listening by Fred Kaufman, or 7 Reasons People Aren't Listening to You by Deepak Chopra, or How to Be a Chief Listening Officer by John Ryan. It's baffling to me how bad we actually are at listening. In fact, I'm going to provide a little bit of truth serum, if you will. I think whether it's self-awareness that we've talked about, or many of the other topics that we plan on talking about in Pause, Think, Consider, truth serum is ultimately what we need to apply in order to get better, to optimize ourselves to be the best self and person that we can be. And so the truth serum about listening is we all suck at it. We all suck at listening. Some people suck more than others. Some people are, I guess, better at it than others, but we all suck at listening. For you, it might be you just suck at listening 100% of the time. You are the worst listening person on this face of the earth. Maybe you have your moments. Maybe it's you haven't had anything to eat. You're a little bit grumpy. You're in the mood. It's that time of the month. Maybe your mother or your girlfriend or your sister's been just bitching at you for the past week and you've had it. You are done listening to anyone about anything. But really, to take that to the next degree, aside from just we suck at it, what is the real reason that we suck at it? My personal belief, we just don't care or give a damn. We just don't care or give a damn. That's why we all suck at listening. Might be a specific moment in time, or maybe we just don't give a damn all the time. And it really comes down to two facets into why we don't care or give a damn. Number one, we're too consumed with ourselves. We are too consumed with ourselves, whether it is our kids that we're dealing with as a parent, or our job, or other responsibilities that we have, or even as we discussed in previous episode about self-awareness, driving and cutting people off and just not caring, just being in the moment. We're all consumed. We're all about ourselves. And when the focus, what I've found personally, when I'm being a poor listener, it's because I'm focusing on something that's about me in that moment. Not about the other person who's talking, not about the person who potentially is sitting right across from me. I am thinking about something else that has nothing to do with the conversation that we're having today. It might be completely relevant and completely necessary in order for me to do that. Perhaps I'm having a conversation with somebody and I have a meeting that I need to get to. And so I stop paying attention and completely miss the point of the entire conversation because I'm so wrapped up in what it is that I need to do next. And I completely miss the point, and I'm a poor listener. Number two, the second thing that makes us suck at listening and show that we just don't give a damn or care is it's hard. It takes genuine effort to listen. Nobody said listening was easy. I know times when I've come home from work and I'm tired and maybe I'm sick and maybe the boss has been yelling at me. I ate something bad. There's 9 million different things that could have gone on during my day. And I pick up the phone and I call my girlfriend Jean, who lives in Sacramento. Doing the long distance relationship thing is challenging. Challenging from a communication standpoint. And it can be challenging being a good listener. I try and really pride myself on being the best listener that I can be. And I've made a concerted effort to be better. But it's hard. It literally takes work. And there's some days I might not even want to have that conversation. But unlike people that have a relationship where they can come home and the wife and kids are there with them, this is somebody that lives an hour and a half by plane away from me. And the only interaction that we get all day is that phone conversation. And for me to be wrapped up, invested in fantasy football scores or what the hell went on with the New York Jets or why Matt Harvey with the Mets is not performing well, or even job related, thinking about a client presentation that I have the next day, or why the hell I tried to do a backhand in pickleball instead of a forehand slam. There's a ton of different things that could be rolling around in my head, and I need to block it all out. And I have these relapses, if you will, of thinking I can multitask. No, I can do it. I do it while I'm driving. I can eat an entire bowl of pho or pho. I'm not even sure how it's pronounced. Probably pho. But I can eat an entire bowl of pho while I'm driving. And that's not something that I would advocate, but I feel like from a multitasking standpoint, I'm good at it. And I can do it pretty successfully. There's people that believe texting and driving, that they can do that successfully, which I'm going to touch on towards the end in terms of our how-tos to be a better listener. But other people believe they can text and drive and they can not only have a conversation with the person in the seat next to them, but drive and text or check that very important Facebook post. You're probably checking to see what the next episode of Pause, Think, Consider is. That's what you should be doing while you're driving and sitting next to your wife or significant other trying to get home or get the kids to soccer practice. Well, that is why I believe those two things, we're too consumed with ourselves and it takes effort. We're just simply not willing to take that effort. So what do we do? What do we do to compensate? Because we don't want to be all about ourselves and we know it takes effort. Well, one of the best, and I will post this on the website, pause, think, consider / all one word, art of listening. There's a bit by Chris Rock that he does. It's one of the best bits I've ever heard in regards to communication. It is so spot on, and he does it in a manner that I will simply not be able to replicate. So please go look at it on the website. But he's talking about how men communicate and talk with women, and that simply they just want you to talk. Women just want men to talk. They want them to talk to them. And so in an effort, because his example that he gives is, how was your day? How was your day? And that turns into a 45-minute long conversation. But you want to be an active listener. You've read it. You've done the listening for dummies. You've read the book, The Art of Listening. And you know you need to be an active listener. You need to be in the moment. You might not give all the cues of like actual eye contact or head nods, or maybe you can throw that in and you're still watching Sports Center or the Red Zone on TV with all the NFL games that have been going on this past week. But Chris Rock has it down. And he says that when you're having that conversation with your woman, you essentially go through what is this repetitive mantra, if you will, to act as if you are listening. And it goes, aha, get out of here. Go. I don't believe you. You don't say. Really? Get out of here. Go. I don't believe you. You don't say. Get out of here. I told you that bitch is crazy. And the key with throwing in, you got to throw in that bitch is crazy, is because every woman has another woman at her job that she cannot stand. And by doing that, it enables you to seem like you're actually listening. And if you do that, your woman will just go on for 45 long minutes. You can be watching LeBron and the Cavs playing on TV and not even know what's going on. Now, the problem is going to be when they try and reference something in that 45-minute long conversation a day from now, a week from now, a month from now. And inevitably, what happens? Yep, you weren't paying attention. You don't listen to me. You don't care about me. So on and so forth. So we try and act like we're listening because we know it's effort. The other thing and the other problem that I've seen from a society standpoint, and this is the one that I had an issue with, that I have tried to self-correct through having self-awareness, and it was actually my sister that brought it up to me. So to give a short story, I bought tickets for my sister and I, my sister Lindsay, the older of the two sisters. I have two sisters. We're a family of 5. And I got tickets for Lindsay and I to go see Wicked here in Portland for, I think it was Hanukkah or maybe for her birthday. And we went. And this was all before the show actually started. We went to dinner. We got dinner together. And then we went and we were waiting for the show to start, mulling around the lobby at the Keller Auditorium. And up until that point, I had really not been aware of what my behavior was. I know that I can talk, and I'm a talker, and I've got my friends, and I like to be up to date with them and interact and doing all this social media crap and what have you, and tweeting and Facebook and so on and so forth. And my sister called me on it. And I didn't realize the impact that it was going to have and what kind of change it was going to have on my life. But she said to me, you know, Jesse, you've been on your phone all freaking night. What is it that you're doing that's so important? Well, I'm texting my buddy Jeff. She goes, well, If whatever you and Jeff are talking about is more important than coming here with me, why'd you even get the damn tickets? Like, why are we here together? You should have just gotten me tickets, and me and Jonathan, who's her now husband, we could have gone. But you're Mr. I like to have experiences and I like to do things with us, so be here. That's all I'm asking. Just be here. I'm not saying that whatever you're talking about isn't necessarily important, but is it something that can wait until we're done? And it hit me right between the eyes, that statement. And I did some self-reflection after that moment over the next couple of weeks and realized I have a serious problem. And it's the same problem that people in my circle of friends, some people in my family, and other people that I know have the same issue, that we are always on our damn phones. We are a society of being connected. We simply can't put our phones down because that's where Facebook is. That's where the sports scores are. That's where our email is. That's how we make our living. It's through our phones, making those phone calls to follow up on leads or to close sales or what have you. The boss is up your behind because you got to make a correction on the email that's going out for the press release or what have you in the next couple of days. And we're just always on our phones. It's interesting because I've heard all sorts of like unplugged, if you will. It's almost like a new wave of being unplugged. Oh, I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to be unplugged. Like it's the cool, hip new thing to actually not use your phone, to be away from your phone. And I've got a lot of respect. I've got a really good buddy of mine. He's got triplets, and he's a good friend of mine that is so damn hard to get a hold of outside off the clock. I can call him at work, and which seems counterintuitive for me calling him at work, taking him away from being able to make the living because he's a salesman. So I'm taking away from his ability to make a living. I can call him then, but if I call him while he's on his way home, I got that window until he pulls in the driveway. After that, the wife and kids better be out of town, otherwise I ain't talking to him. But I have a lot of respect for him. I have a lot of respect for him because he has his priorities in order. And the amazing thing is all of the effects that our phones are having on us. People are literally, and you've heard it, I've heard it from utilizing the keyboard, having carpal tunnel syndrome, getting carpal tunnel from typing. People are actually getting carpal tunnel from texting. It's not an epidemic per se, but people are actually coming down with carpal tunnel from texting. Another thing, what I like to call the hunchback of Notre Dame syndrome, or forward head position, or sometimes it's been described as a fat pad. There's people literally, and part of this is from the design, if you will, of being sedentary, always being in a chair. And this is definitely something that I want to go into. It's another huge passion of mine. There's a movement, if you will, of trying to get people to stand up and not sitting down anymore. But the hunchback of Notre Dame syndrome is, in my belief, from being glued to our phones. I was on the bus the other day, and I sat up and I looked around at the 23 people that were sitting there. There was one gentleman who was out cold, unconscious, smelled of like, I don't know, Colt 45 or Mickey's or something. He was in a coma of sorts, so he was not on a phone. But every single other person, aside from myself, was glued to a phone and hunched over, if you will, in that hunchback position. Well, what do you think's going to happen when we're like that? So you can literally, by looking at somebody, you can tell. And There's some people that there's all sorts of exercises and things that you can do. You can go to the chiropractor. You know, the chiropractic office that I go to, there's a whole diagram and chart about forward head syndrome position, if you will, and being able to correct that. It does take work, but being on our phones is one of the main culprits. And so when you look at somebody and see that their shoulders are hunched forward, their neck is actually crooked, it's not straight up and down from their torso straight up to their head, that's a sign that people are on the computer, on the phone way too much, and they're seated and just not engaged. Another thing is phantom vibration syndrome. It sounds, and I will link to it, it's actually a scientific, like, medical syndrome, if you will, of people actually feeling like their phone's vibrating or there's a beep. And I can physically remember when I was in the heyday of my texting, and probably with being on a prepaid cell phone plan was probably not to my best interest to be on a prepaid cell phone plan and then be texting that much, but I digress. But phantom vibration syndrome, this is literally thinking that your phone rang or feeling that vibration in your hand and it didn't actually happen. And I watch this in my friends that they, my wife must have texted. She must, and just getting, it's almost like they're paranoid, like every 2 seconds, like clicking. Dude, there's notifications that come up on your flipping phone. Like, if you have those notifications on, it'll blink, it'll beep, it'll vibrate. You'll have the little icon on there. It's like watching the teenager who's trying to cross the street at the crosswalk, and they're hitting the button, and they're hitting the button, and they're hitting the button, and they're hitting the button. It's not going to go any faster. You're not going to get that message from your wife, or your buddy's not going to send you back that Facebook message any faster if you click it open. But we are so attached to our phones. We are so attached to our phones that we're having all of these issues: carpal tunnel, the hunchback of Notre Dame syndrome, and phantom vibration syndrome. So what is it that we can do? If it's an epidemic of sorts for listening, we've identified and we've recognized that at times it's all about us. And we know listening is hard. As I said before, there's people that there might even be a listening doctor. There's got to be somebody out there that's a listening doctor. If you're the listening doctor, please pause, think, consider.com. I would love to listen to you and hear what it is that you have to say. But what can we do? And I believe there's 2 things that we can do. First off, if we're being truthful and being completely transparent with ourselves, it comes down to, first, authenticity. And I've heard it before. Jesse, I have to go to this party with my wife, or I have to go to back to school night with my kids, or I have to go to this meeting and I don't really want to. Do you really have to? Is it literally a gun to your head and you will die if you don't do that? I'm being a little facetious, but I believe the answer is no. And so, if you don't have to, maybe you might upset people, and I think that's another topic we could talk about. Trying to avoid conflict. We're trying to avoid conflict from our partner, from our spouse, from our mother, father, from our boss. And so we are doing them the favor. We're doing them a favor of, well, I'm going to do that. And then often enough, I've even had the conversation. I can remember a girlfriend went to a concert with her. We saw, drawing a blank on it, the Portland Cello Project. I'll link to them. They are an amazing group of cellos that do different songs like Kanye West and all sorts of hip things that you wouldn't think a cello would actually be able to do, but they do. And I went to this concert with her, and she was literally on her phone the whole time. And I called her out on it, and she said, well, I'm trying to set up practice for my daughter tomorrow. I'm trying to set up practice tomorrow for my daughter. And I was infuriated because here we were. This is something that we had planned for months to go see together. And I get it. Your daughter's important. Soccer practice is important. I'm not talking about an entire day that we are together. This is something that's been planned for months, and it is an hour to 2 hours of time. Why didn't you coordinate before we came? Why couldn't you text them afterwards? Why couldn't you call them in the morning? There's a multitude of different things that could have done. So what I'm saying and what I'm urging people to do is either care or don't. If you don't care, then just be honest. Jesse, I don't give a damn what you have to say right now. I've been listening to this podcast of yours, and I don't give a damn what you have to say. I know I'm a good listener. My wife tells me I'm a good listener. My kids love me, and I don't give a damn. Cool. Great. No hard feelings. But if you're going to listen, care. And with that comes the second point of being present in the moment. Being present in the moment. And this was the biggest lesson that my sister Lindsay taught me. Was in that moment, the things that I was trying to multitask and do, it really wasn't that important. The most important thing at that time was to spend time with my sister, who I had my own place. She was at home. We really didn't see each other that much. Maybe we were seeing each other once every couple months. And that's not even my sister who lives off in Colorado, which is even less. And it's even more imperative when we're together to actually be present in the moment. And there's a lot of different articles out there about being in the moment and not always thinking about the future. And I am a self-admitted worrywart about everything. My parents, my grandparents, they used to always tell me, Jesse, you are going to give yourself an ulcer. You worry about freaking everything. And part of that, I believe, has to do with always thinking about the future, always projecting what's going to go on. My girlfriend's father always talks to me about, Jesse, you can't always plan for everything. You simply can't. Yes, it would be nice. It'd be great. But what do you do when something happens? What happens when something changes? It's like, well, I try and be adaptable, but I try and think of all sides and all facets of everything. But if I'm being truthful with myself, if I'm utilizing a little bit of truth serum, having some self-awareness, I'm not being present in that moment. I'm so busy thinking about the future. And I can tell you, with having a long distance relationship, and I just got back from Sacramento, it was literally a 3-day trip. I flew in Friday evening. We had Saturday together and flew out Sunday evening. You want to talk about a testament of having to be present and to be in that moment? That is the definition of having to be present and to be in the moment. Having a long distance relationship when you know you're not going to see that individual for another month and you've got less than 48 hours together. It's just like a muscle or trying to build up your endurance. It's something that you have to physically work at. You physically have to work at. You have to work at being present and being in the moment. It's not something that's going to come overnight. And when my sister told me, Jesse, you're not being in the moment, it's not something that changed overnight. It took a concerted effort. And so I make a rule for myself. When I am out with my friends, my phone does not come. It comes out of my pocket and it goes on the table because I don't know what sort of microwave cancer riddled bad juju that thing has. So I'm going to take it off my person, but I do not look at that thing. I wear a watch. I'm one of those rare people that actually likes and enjoys, and I'm a watch guy. So I don't need to look at my phone to see what time it is. I just flip my left wrist over and there it is. So I'm ready to be in the moment. And my phone will ring sometimes or it'll vibrate and my friends will say, oh, well, don't you need, I'm like, no. And it could be a family member. It could be Jean. And that's the time that she's calling me. In fact, it happened today. I was out playing pickleball. She called me. I didn't get it. She missed me. We don't get to talk today. Well, it's an unfortunate situation, but that is the same courtesy that I gave her this past weekend. I told her, I said, there is a couple things I need to do for this podcast because it's being launched on Monday. But aside from that, I am here and I am yours and I am not talking to a soul. And I try and set the ground rules for my friends and family. Hey, I'm going to Sacramento unless it is a grave emergency. Just don't even contact me. I'll talk to you when I'm back. I'll tell you what's going on. And I try and do that with everything. Everything that I do, I'm in the present. I'm in the moment. And there's a couple things I'm going to link to that really showcase this on the website, pausethinkconsider.com/ all one word, art of listening. And the first video is by AT&T, which is No Post is Worth It. And it is, I always feel like Europeans, as far as their advertisements go, it's so much, and even in Canada as well, it's very raw. It's very in your face. It is shock worthy, and it really jars you, if you will. And so the video, essentially, if you go on and look at it on the website, is a mother who's driving with her little girl in the back who sent a photo, I believe, on Facebook. And she says, oh, so-and-so liked your photo, Ellie, or whatever her name is, and then plows into a semi or garbage truck or something like that. And again, to the point of being present, being in the moment, that potentially cost her life, her child's life, and that impact. And there's a lot of information out there about no text, no driving. It seems like it's very, very real. I don't know what the death total is as far as that goes, but there's a lot of advertising dollars that's gone towards trying to get people to stop texting and driving. But the video that has had the biggest impact on my life is by a gentleman named Gary Turk. And Gary put together a video. It's about 5 minutes long, and it's called Look Up. And I'm just going to read the initial beginning of Gary's video. It says, I have 422 friends, yet I am lonely. I speak to all of them every day, yet none of them really know me. The problem I have sits in the spaces between, looking into their eyes or at a name on a screen. I took a step back and opened my eyes. I looked around and then realized that this media we call social is anything but when we open our computers and it's our doors we shut. It's an incredible video. I cannot recommend it enough taking a look at. And between my sister's words and this video, it was a life changer. It was a life changer towards being present, being in the moment, and really setting me on the path to being the best listener I possibly can be. So to help recap, we're all terrible listeners. If we're going to be completely transparent and completely truthful with ourselves, we all suck at it. And it comes down to we just don't give a damn or we don't care because we're too consumed with ourselves or it's hard. And so we try and act like we're listening. And our phones are causing incredible things like carpal tunnel from texting, the Hunchback of Notre Dame syndrome, that fat pad, or even phantom vibration syndrome. And so in order to help combat this, we need to be as authentic as possible. Either care or don't. And if we don't care, get out of the situation so you can be in a situation where you care and you can listen. And please, please, please be present and be in the moment. I want to thank you all for listening today. Please check out the website at pausethinkconsider.com/all one word, Art of Listening. And please don't forget to log on and visit us on Facebook. It's facebook.com, pause.think.consider. And I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow on Pause, Think, Consider.